In a time and era where everyone is scared to express their true opinion, we bring to you the Steam Room. My name is Lady Luck, hip-hop artist, serial entrepreneur, and creative genius. Today I put together a panel of esteemed guests, educated people who are extremely passionate about their political side. It is a pressing issue in our community, and I just wanted you to make the right decision on November 5th. Joining us today, we have Angela Stanton King, author, TV personality, and independent speaker. 3-time national best-selling author and founder of AuntAngie'sHouse.com. She was also pardoned by former President Trump. We have Maj Toure, activist, rapper, and he founded the nonprofit organization Black Guns Matter and ran for city council in Philadelphia in 2019. We have Hakim Green, hip-hop artist, educator, speaker, and political activist. We also have Reecie Colbert, political and cultural host and speaker, also the host of the Reecie Colbert Show on Sirius XM Radio. You say that 5 times. We have Barry Bondz, marketing and media exec, whose credits include Bad Boy Entertainment, CBS, New York One News, New York Daily News, and The Source Magazine, songwriter, and my cousin. Of course, we always promoting our music and always promoting where we're coming from, but at this point in time, the hottest topic in our community that is affecting us all is the presidential election. A lot of people are hearing things on the news, they're uneducated about a lot of different issues, and they're uneducated about who is the candidate that they should vote for. My name is Lady Luck, and welcome to the Steam Room.
Funding away from public schools that didn't allow LGBTQ education to be pushed on children. And we are talking about elementary school. I am the parent of an LGBTQ child. There are some things that's happening in the public education system right now that are against parental rights. And every Democrat in office actually just voted against parental rights. So I think that there is a concern. We are seeing a lot more people homeschool their children, and we've had conversations about this before. Are our schools indoctrinating our children? So the clip, I would have to go back and look at it, but if I could start all over again, I would definitely homeschool all 5 of my children. And that's my personal opinion. And that's coming from an independent perspective. I've been Republican, I've been Democrat. I'm focused now more on policy. So this is an independent perspective.
Now, that's interesting. As a Black woman in America, I know that it's very popular for our community to represent the Democratic side. Why is it that you feel like you can represent the Republicans and be proud of it, and that's the group that stands for you?
Well, again, I represent the independent side. I've been on both sides. I've been on the Democrat side and I've been on the Republican side, but I'm more focused on independent now because there is a need for unity. I think that every fight that we have in our community is important, but I think that we all go different ways about going about it, right? We all want to liberate Black life. We all want to uplift our communities, but can we do it from a perspective where we're divided and where we're fighting? So that's why I'm coming from an independent perspective now, even being someone that's pro-life. Like a lot of people say, hey, I'm pro-choice. That doesn't mean that you don't agree with me, or that doesn't mean that we hate each other. That doesn't mean that you won't help me help women who choose to keep their babies. So there is a need for us to all come together because politics is supposed to be bipartisan anyway. When they get there on the Congress floor and they get ready to vote, right, you have to have votes in agreement from both parties. So what our community has to understand is that there is a need for us to have a voice on every side of the aisle, not just one. And the Democrat policies of today are not the same Democrat policies and agendas that they were when my grandmother and my mother supported this policy or these policies.
I want to go across the aisle right quick. I know that I wanted to jump to Maj, but I wanted to go across the aisle right quick, and I wanted to ask Reecie from a Black woman's perspective of representing the Democratic Party. And when we hear things that Trump is saying that he wants to dismantle the Board of Education, what does that mean to you and the people that you represent and are also fighting for?
Yeah, the Department of Education being dismantled is something that's called for in Project 2025. And so I'm glad that Donald Trump is finally admitting that he will implement the policies of Project 2025, which he has been trying to distance himself from. It would devastate our communities. I mean, Department of Education is something that is not about school curriculums and things of that nature. This is how millions of Black families are getting funding for their schools. There's already discrepancy and disparities in how Black children are getting their public schools funded because of, in many places, education funding is based on property taxes. And so with the Department of Education and the things that Donald Trump wants to eliminate will further entrench those disparities in public school funding. It will eliminate things like the Head Start, which is something that Black students disproportionately benefit from. It will eliminate things like Pell Grant assistance that HBCUs are thriving on. It will eliminate all kinds of protections. And so it would devastate our communities in so many ways. Even if you are for school choice or homeschooling or whatever the situation may be, the answer is absolutely not to take away the federal government's involvement in terms of getting funding for our students and closing out the disparities that are not being done at the state level. And so I hope that people take very seriously what Donald Trump is saying. Like, for instance, when he says that he will defund schools that teach about slavery. That was something that he was starting with his 1776 commission before he left office. That laid the groundwork for this anti-CRT movement that we saw through the midterms and things of that nature. And so I know that Donald Trump is a person who is unserious and unhinged, and people don't seem to believe that he's serious when he says the things that he's doing. But we've seen him execute, or at least his bureaucracy execute some of these things. And I have no reason to believe that he is just bluster about trying to get rid of the Department of Education and other federal agencies if he were to be elected.
Maj Toure, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show. Right now, the first topic that I started on was the hottest thing that we saw this weekend with Trump saying that he wanted to dismantle the Board of Education. We have just wanted to know what that statement meant to you and the people that you represent.
This isn't something new. The Department of Education has been horrible for Black people in their educational output. I just see a bunch of back-to-back contradictions as they talk to this, just because Trump said it. First and foremost, Walter E. Williams, who's a scholar, Philadelphia scholar, has been talking about the destruction of the education system as it relates to Black people for some time now. Obviously, Walter E. Williams happened to be Black, but outside of him being Black, he was right. On top of the fact that since 1979, when Jimmy Carter created the Department of Education, the American education level went from 1 to 24. So this conversation and pretending like on one hand, somehow the Department of Education has been doing great strides for Black people and our babies. That's one, that's wrong. And two, there's Walter E. Williams brought this up again a while back too, but it still holds firm to this day. The average white student that graduates from high school has a 12 years in school type of degree. And then the reading comprehension level for the average person at that time, Black person, was at an 8th grade level. So they're passing people through, they're giving them degrees, they do not have fundamental situations. We have for decades in the Black community said these schools are not teaching us anything. Literally, one of my favorite hip hop groups of all time, Dead Prez, literally has a song talking about they schools. So to pretend because Trump said something, and again, I want to be very clear for everybody, I have more right-leaning conservative values in some areas, but I'm a libertarian. Angela's an independent. So these are not just talking points from Republican perspective, especially when you talk about Black scholars that have been being very, very clear about the horrendous education system, even if that's tied into what the sister said about the tax revenue being something that handles it. Philadelphia, they tried that line too. They increased the soda tax, and that money was supposed to go towards the schools. But the reality is the Department of Education is trash. These things should be handled on the state level because the educational things that generate resources for Black people in the South may be a little bit different than the things that generate resources for Black children and going into jobs in the North and things of that nature. So I just think it's cat. I think because we give Trump so much power over our emotional swaying that we think because he says something, we have to be in opposition to it. And we look contradictory because we've been saying that the schools don't teach us anything for a very long time. And to just 180 it because somebody happened to say something that you agree with, it's just intellectually inconsistent.
Can I just say though, first of all, I just want to say it's not emotions. These are just statistical information. I mean, funding for Head Start comes from the Department of Education. The Department of Education does not dictate curriculum across the country. The states handling it is exactly why we see the kind of disparities, because there's different levels of investment at the state. What the Department of Education does when it is under the correct supervision, then it helps to close the disparities that we see because of the differences in how different states allocate school funding, how
The
they set
disparities have
curriculum.
gotten worse with the Department of Education.
It would have been worse without the Department of Education. The Department of Education
that's
is
hypothetical.
closing those disparities, not
if I
causing
could
them.
just say, when they control the funding, they also control the indoctrination, what they teach our children. And I also wanted to let you know, Reecie, that the founder of Project 2025 just recently endorsed Kamala Harris, and that's all over the news if you want to research that. So we need to be more focused on policy as a community in whole. We need to stop arguing about who said this, who said what's best for our community.
You guys have interjected people other than Donald Trump. I'm talking about Donald Trump, who's the presidential candidate of the United States. All these other
The
people
question
being
was about the
name-checked,
Department of Education, though.
other people being name-checked have nothing to do with Donald Trump. I'm holding Donald Trump accountable for his actions, for his 1776 commission, and for the words that he said that confirmed one of the key tenets of Project 2025, which is eliminating the Department of Education.
Okay, we're gonna get to that.
question was about the Department of Education,
Maj, we're gonna get to that.
necessarily.
We're gonna get to that. Just give me a second. We're gonna get to that. We have two more guests that I want to see if they want to weigh in on it. We're gonna have a good time tonight, and this is just on education. Boy, we didn't even get to the water yet. We didn't get to the money going overseas yet. Okay, so Hakeem, would you like to weigh in on this at all?
Hey, what's up, Luck? Peace to the panel. So, Luck, as you know, before I was a hip hop artist, I was a school teacher. Taught junior high school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, East Orange, New Jersey, from 1990 to 94. The governor at that time was Florio. And Florio passed what was called the Quality Education Act, which was about redirecting tax dollars, targeting urban school districts, Black and brown communities, because for decades, Black and brown communities have been underserviced, underinvested in, right? So in New Jersey, he wanted to change that around. Man, the Republicans got him out of there so quick. I think what we see right now with Donald Trump and what his comments were the other day reflect that sentiment within the Republican Party, which is we want all the resources for the folks that we pick and choose. I was taught, right, if you don't have another job, don't quit the one you're on. I'm all about local politics, local communities being invested in their children's education, local communities being invested in at City Hall. I think if we do that, and instead of looking at things as they, but look at things like we, and we invested ourselves, I think that we can turn the Department of Education around. We can't keep looking at them and they without figuring out how we're going to make things work for ourselves. And if that means creating something else, create something else. But don't jump off the ship unless you've built another boat.
Barry, is there anything that you wanted to weigh in on it?
Yes, peace to the panel. I would just say that when we look at the education system, we know without a shadow of a doubt that it's been broken for years. I just went to Aiken High Schools here in Cincinnati, Ohio, their graduation this past year, and they only graduated 47 people. And that's a class of 300 and some change. 47 people. That graduation was probably as long as a TV show, 30 minutes probably. For us to sit here and just blame everybody else, we have to look at ourselves on this situation. Education starts at home. I help my son. I call the teachers, make sure that I'm in contact with those teachers, the conferences, that they have on Thursdays. I'm there to talk to them because I got to take accountability for how my son is doing in school instead of just leaving it to the teachers. But we all know, and let's use our logical brain here, we all know that this education system has been crazy and whack for years. That's why some people send their kids to certain schools outside of their neighborhoods because they know that they're going to get a quality education. When I was in school, I've seen people just get passed on, just get passed. Now, when we talk about Trump and his, stance on CRT and education, when we say that he's going to cut slavery being taught, how many times do we need slavery to be taught over and over again to create and groom this victim mentality that that's all we are? We're more than that. It's more to Black folks as a whole in our history than just slavery. We come from a great lineage. So I think that he was more so speaking of all of the indoctrination of choice for young kids and their sexual, beings, as far as that's where he was pointing most. So let's not get confused as far as just putting this all on slavery. No, this is about them bringing drag queens into the schools, teaching and reading to these kids. That's what it's really about. Let's cut out all the noise there. Let's get to the bare facts of it. That's pretty much what it's about there.
I interject something real quick. While I was an educator in 90 to 94, I started an after-school program called ACT Now, African Children of Tomorrow Now, which covered African history prior slavery. The point of that program was to show us at our greatness, right? At our greatness, how we remove from that greatness, and we get to the 50s, 60s, 70s, giving them signals of how we could recreate that greatness. I think that we need to get more involved in the school system or create our own. But until we create our own, we got to figure out how to make the one we have a little bit better than it is, or a lot better than what it is.
So that's a great segue when you say creating our own, because is it a fact, and I'm asking you, Hakim, and I would love everybody on the panel to answer, when it comes to the two candidates, is it about picking the lesser evil?
No, it's about leverage. So I do a lot of work in Newark, New Jersey. You participated in 24 Hours of Peace this past year. It's a peace festival we do in Newark, New Jersey, 24 hours. It's about peace, love, unity, safely having fun, using hip hop for what it really is and what it was really supposed to be used for.
I didn't finish my question, but and I was there, 24 Hours of Peace. You guys did an amazing job. But I asked that because, like, okay, you're a Democrat. So let's say I'm on the fence, and this is why I really wanted to have this panel. Wait, let me finish my question so you can answer me properly.
Looking for leverage.
Right, okay, looking for leverage. Because when I see that Kamala Harris I'm talking about us in our community. Me, right. My hip-hop community, black community, when I see videos of her saying, I'm not going to do anything to benefit just the black community. And right. Then when we speak up about it, then she comes forward and now she has a plan for the black men, when one of the most popular things on social media was black men for Trump. And I'm going to ask the Democrats the Republicans these questions as well. So when I see that Flint still has dirty water, but I see that Ukraine gets all of the money that they need. When I see that I'm in Georgia, 5-6 hours away from where I am in North Carolina, they got $750, and then the next day I think she sent like $127 billion in Lebanon, and these are things that they're proud of. And so I wanted to know, like, when we endorse these candidates, when I say the best of lesser evil, is it, I like that she says a lot of these other things. I don't agree with everything, and I want you and Reecie to answer, and then we'll go.
So when she said, I'm not gonna just do things for black people, that was a soundbite that was a part of a larger. What she said was, anytime we do anything for black people, everybody else benefits, which is a historical fact. Every time black people benefit, white women benefit, immigrants benefit, everybody else benefits off of what was specifically. So no, she goes, so no, I'm not just gonna help black people, because doing things for black people is helping everybody else. I totally stand by that. That's the historical fact of the matter. Okay, you mentioned something else. Ukraine.
I mentioned about Flint still having dirty water and the money. I'm gonna come to you, Maj. I'm gonna come to you. So I was just asking about the money that they.
Flint has dirty water, right? There's still the state of Michigan. Now, Maj, I'm not trying to defend anybody because I don't know how the intricacies of any of that works, right? So I'm not gonna front like I do. However, when we talk about state government and local government, that's the state of Michigan, right? There were a lot of federal dollars. That didn't happen while she was the president, or the vice president. So that's not about what she's doing. Congress actually is the body that spends money. Money, trillions of dollars, billions of dollars cannot be allocated unless there's a law created in order to direct that. Presidents don't make laws. Congress and the Senate does. President signed them in that. She's not the president, so she wouldn't have anything to do with money going to Ukraine or making sure Flint, Michigan got fixed. So if we're gonna speak just going straight for accountability, right? And I'm gonna do this for both sides. I just want to educate myself because I need to know who I want to vote for. Let's talk about the biggest thing that is affecting all of us here, whether we know it or not, and that's the border. And Hakim, you are in Newark, and I know a lot of towns in New Jersey and across the country are. Huh? I actually live in Florida.
Oh, okay. You were in Jersey. You was in Jersey. You getting money. Okay. So what I'm saying, even in Florida, the hurricanes, but what I'm saying, she is held responsible for the border, and the border is simply out of control right now. So I'm just asking, do you agree with how she treated the border or how she's run it?
She's not in control of the border. She's the vice president. The vice president has very specific duties, right? She's not the border czar. The situation at the border has predated the Biden administration for years. There was a bipartisan immigration bill put on the table earlier this year, crafted by Republicans. Democrats signed on. Donald Trump told the Congress, Republican-dominant Congress, not to pass that immigration bill because he wanted to run on that. If they passed the immigration bill, that would give Joe Biden the credit. Trump didn't need that to happen, so he squashed it.
Can I jump in though?
Yeah, because I was about to go. I want to go around the panel. So you're next, and then we're gonna go. Then we're gonna go to Maj. We go to Angela. I see your face, Angela. And we're gonna go to Barry.
So, as it relates to Flint, Michigan, one of Vice President Kamala Harris's key portfolio assignments was the issue of lead pipes. The infrastructure plan that the Biden-Harris administration passed, along with the Democratic Congress and Senate, allocated billions of dollars specifically for the purposes of eliminating lead pipes and getting clean water throughout the country. On the other issue of $750 is immediate assistance that's available for people, and then they can apply for more long-term assistance through FEMA. So it's not that it's $750 and then there's nothing. I've personally reported at the White House on initiatives that Vice President Kamala Harris has done specifically targeting our community. For instance, when the HBCUs were getting bomb threats, they galvanized a federal response to eliminating those bomb threats and getting resources for HBCUs called safety grants. I was there when they rolled out the PAVE action plan, which is about eliminating home ownership appraisal bias. She's elevated Black maternal health to the White House level, something that had never been addressed before at the White House level. She's had Black entrepreneurs. She's engaged with all of these civil rights organizations. I know my son might be joining us later. And so the idea that she's just now coming up with some sort of Black voter engagement or some sort of Black plan is absolutely untrue based on the record. It's not my opinion. These are facts. And as far as the whole so-called border czar claim, that is a title that's been put on her. She's the Vice President of the United States, but she did get an assignment to tackle the root causes of migration from the Northern Triangle, which is a very specific part of South America. She did, in fact, accomplish lower migration from those areas. There's data on that. Border crossings are down. They're catching more fentanyl. And so I understand that there's a lot of disinformation that's being put out there to try to dissuade our community or get us disillusioned and disaffected around this issue. And I understand that on this panel, we have very different audiences. And so I'm not here to try to convert Republican, independent, whatever the situation is. I'm here to lay out the facts to whoever is open to hearing them. And anybody, I'm just going to say in advance, this is not my emotions, because I'm hearing a lot of your emotions and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm speaking from a position of fact. So I'm just pre-budding. Anybody who wants to say anything, I'm not speaking from emotion. I'm not talking about anecdotes. I'm talking about policy. I'm talking about data.
And it's very important. And again, like I ask these questions because there's sound clips and sound bites, and they're coming from both sides. So the reason why I'm asking these things is so that I can get educated, and anybody else who's seen these things and they don't know that there was more to the clip, you know, on for both sides. But there's a lot of fake news floating around. So this is the reason why I'm asking these questions, because these are the clips that's up and down my timeline. Next, we're going to go to Maj.
So the sister's not speaking for fact. The vice president in this Biden administration literally sued the state of Texas. Texas has the right to secure its own border. This current administration, we're not talking about Trump when he was in the last 3.5 years, the Biden-Harris administration sued Texas in federal court so they could not defend their borders. That's it. That's it. So she has not been good on the border. And if she wants to be the president of the United States, for the most part, the president has 3 jobs: defend the Constitution, secure the borders, command the armed forces. We don't know if she'll be able to command the armed forces because she hasn't been in a position. Currently, it looks like nobody in the military actually respects her enough to do that. So that's one. In my opinion, you're out. The next part of that conversation is when we go into the border conversation, is that's an intricate part of the executive branch. Her administration has failed to do it. Now, this argument about like hiding behind, well, she couldn't do it because she's just the vice president, then don't get on television capping about what you did. If you can't answer a simple question, hey, we need change, the country needs to go in a different direction. Well, you were the person in the room that you say you want the credit for being in the room when all of the decisions are made. And you can't say we made some mistakes. You made horrible mistakes on the economy. You're lying about the job growth. Like this is not, these are facts. I have articles up here that we can pull from both sides of the aisle. Newsweek, CNN, Fox, Al Jazeera. The reality is, based on what she's actually done, all of this vague rhetoric about what her plan to do, I cannot base that off of what when you're in the position and you actually didn't do it. And there's no one, and I dare anyone to say it's a fact that the Biden-Harris administration did not sue the state of Texas. I mean, like we don't for border issues. Like we don't even have to like lie about this.
They did sue.
If they would own it and say this was wrong, this is where we got it wrong, and moving forward, we'll attempt to try that differently. But you want the benefit of a thing without owning where you got it wrong, and then you're lying to the American people. And I just think lying to black people like that, I'm sorry. I live in North Philly. I'm just not going to accept that. It's just disingenuous, and it's actually disgusting.
That's 2 questions. So you said that this lawsuit was when? 3-4 years ago?
Let's pull it up right now.
I
don't want to just talk.
To the
I want to bring
lawsuit
facts
because
up.
what it is the immigration is a federal issue. It is not a state by state issue. So this administration did in fact sue Texas because Texas wanted to take a federal issue and make it a state enforcement issue.
It is a state enforcement issue.
It's not a state enforcement issue.
Maj, you gotta let us
Article 4.
Maj, we gotta let us speak.
Yeah, we have a border control at a federal level. Immigration is done at a federal level. And so when Texas wanted to try to do its own border enforcement, yes, the Biden-Harris administration did sue them. And yes, the Texas was shut down because immigration is not a state's issue. Now, there have been different states that have tried to do things like Texas, like Louisiana, like Georgia, where they are inserting themselves in a federal issue of doing things like stopping people under the pretext of saying, I think you might be here illegally, and then throwing those people in jail, which is something that is actually going to be impacting us, because I don't know how anybody can trust some MAGA cop to discern between a Haitian person and a American descendant of slave or foundational Black American. I don't know if anybody would trust the cops to do that, but these are the kinds of ways that they are trying to make a federal enforcement issue a state issue. So yes, that is true that is something that happened in terms of a lawsuit. Whether that is something that was right or wrong, I guess it depends on if you're a person who thinks that MAGA cops and cowboys and stuff should be sitting up there rounding people up at the border, or if you think that the federal government is the appropriate person or appropriate body to handle immigration issues.
Maj, I'm gonna come to you. I just need Angela to jump in.
What's a MAGA cop? I'm not familiar with what a MAGA cop is, or if it's some type of box that you check off on an application. My nephew just became a police officer. We're very, very proud of him. And as a young Black man that actually grew up in the hood, he became a police officer because he wants to be the change. He wants to be a part of the change, right? So I don't know what that means. I don't wage war on all police officers because I have family members and friends that work in law enforcement. But one of the things, there are several things that I want to say in regards to the border. The border is disastrous right now, okay? And we are watching illegal immigrants come across the border and get more benefits than Black Americans in need right here in our own country. I am in Atlanta, Georgia. I walk over homeless people every single day. I am the founder of a pro-life organization called Auntie Angie's House, where we are doing everything in our power to eradicate the Black maternal health crisis, right? But for some reason, we're seeing all of this funding going to illegal immigrants in Atlanta. You have Black mothers and children that are homeless. You have Black women feeling as though they need to choose abortion because of their economic status, because they cannot afford to raise their children. So if we have Black women feeling liberated with a choice to abort because they feel like they can't afford their children, then maybe we do need to close the border and use some of that funding to fund Black life instead of executing Black life. Because here is the problem with the Black maternal health crisis, okay? If you have Black women dying from giving birth to their children, abortion is not the solution. You got the Black mama dying on the table in the hospital and the Black baby dying during the abortion process. Neither one of them benefits, uplifts, maintains, or preserves Black life. So as a Black woman, I'm offended by so many Black people that claim to hate racism, but are willingly going to the polls to abort their own race in November, right after the election. The information that we have about Planned Parenthood is non-disputable. You can go research this. We know that this was put in place, right, to eradicate the Black race. I am sick and tired of hearing Black people and Black women in particularly call Donald Trump a racist, and at the same time, they are standing at the front line of the fight to execute the very Black life that we create, right? We can't demand anybody value Black life if we don't put a value on Black life, right? We got to get on the same accord. Illegal immigration is not helping us. I get offended when I have a Black mother that I'm trying to help get situated and on her feet. But if we ride through Atlanta past the immigration office, baby, it's a line wrapped all the way around the building. These people can go in, they can get housing, they can get funding, they can get jobs, they can get everything that they need. But here I am in Fulton County begging for support to help the same Black women that are facing a Black maternal health crisis.
Now, Angela,
like,
this is
the abortion Hot Wheels bus did it for me. Like, I just feel as though Black women deserve more than abortion. American women deserve more than abortion. If you are on an HBCU reproductive rights tour when an abortion Hot Wheels bus, and baby, you ain't took that abortion Hot Wheels bus to the border, you ain't took that abortion Hot Wheels bus to Yale or Princeton, then yes, we do have a problem. So no, I'm not with you just because you Black, because I feel like Black women deserve more than a choice to lynch the Black life that they create in the womb. And it ain't about rape and incest no more. Okay, that's only 1%.
I'm gonna get there, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna get there, and trust me.
Let me interject real quick.
Wait. Please remember your point. I just want to get back to Angela because I want to ask. I want to go back to the very beginning because we are all proud of your nephew becoming a police officer, and I definitely feel like more of us need to join the force and start policing our own neighborhoods. But what I want to ask is that Trump also went viral for a clip where he's saying he want to let the police run loose. You know what I mean? And he doesn't want them to be held accountable. How does that make you feel as a Black woman seeing all of the injustices that has happened to so many different Black people, state to state, women? I've seen women getting abused. I've seen so many different things. And of course, we marched and everything. So I wanted to know when you're saying Trump is going to give the green light to police and they're not going to be held accountable.
Well, you know, Obama already did it. And we can research that right now, right? Is it the Blue Act law? Obama already did it, right? And the majority of Black men and women that were murdered under this Black Lives Matter movement, this all happened up under Obama's watch. Trayvon Martin, okay? Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland, okay? If we want to just go down the list. Sonya Massey was just murdered, okay? We just watched this. We just watched the execution of, what's his name, Marcellus Williams. We didn't see Kamala put up a post. Kim Kardashian has done more to help Black men than Kamala Harris has, if you ask me in my personal opinion, okay? So listen, I don't agree with giving the police immunity, right? And I don't think that we are going to agree with any presidential candidate 100% of the way, right? We're not. But here's the thing. What have Kamala Harris and Joe Biden done about police reform since they have been in office? We watched these Asians when in Atlanta, Georgia, 8 Asians were murdered, okay? It wasn't 72 hours. Kamala Harris was down here on the news saying that she was the first Asian vice president. And baby, they had a law on the floor, okay? Protect anti-Asian hate crime bill. Not only did they get a hate crime bill, they also got $49 million from the American Rescue Fund. Let's fast forward a couple of months where we got 13 elders in Buffalo, New York, shot dead, okay? We didn't get no anti-Black life crime law. We didn't get any money. They went to that community, which I grew up in, and told them people to give up their guns.
But now, from what I understand, so let me ask you a question, and I know all of these issues that are affecting us. So I know earlier he said that the president is only responsible for 3 things: securing the border, upholding the Constitution, and going to war. So with a lot of the things that was just mentioned now, and trust me, I'm with you on that. I see what they're doing in every city. But if they're only responsible for those 3 things, how can we put the blame on Kamala? Right now, can Hakeem answer that?
It's hard to put the blame of police brutality and what's a systemic thing as we've witnessed happen over hundreds of years on one person, especially the half black, half Asian woman VP running for president, as much as we can put all of it on Trump or all of it on Obama or all of it on Bush, so forth and so on. However, Donald Trump said that he wants to indemnify the police, which means that if something goes wrong, i.e. George Floyd, which happened during Obama's watch, right? Okay, that you have the ability to sue police and bring grievance to the state and the Fed. Derek Chauvin, who we all witnessed murder George Floyd, is in jail, right? Right. Under Trump, that's not a possibility because the police will be indemnified.
I just want to say I was working with Trump in his White House. I was the black woman that was at that FBI conference and demanded the arrest for Derek Chauvin. I was the only black face allowed in the FBI press conference, and I demanded the arrest of him. And I was also out there protesting. Hold on, it's not about the color. Donald Trump also, hold on, let me tell you, because I was there. I don't know if you worked directly in Kamala's White House. I'm just telling you what I personally experienced. Like Reecie was able to testify to what she witnessed. He also, right, labeled it a hate crime. Okay, he did that and had the FBI investigate it. Like, let's just be factual about it. None of them have done anything about police reform. Okay,
that's not true.
As far as I'm concerned, all of them can do more. But at the same time, when we are talking about reforming a police officer, are you guys talking about the whole system or just the MAGA police officers that Reecie is referring to?
I'm talking
police officers.
One mic, please, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna get a bad echo. I'm gonna get bad audio. Can I have Barry weigh in on that as a black man? As a black man who is firmly representing the Republican Party and is proudly representing and going to vote for Donald Trump, how do you, as a black man who looks like all of the brothers and sisters who have been held, how do you respond to that? How do you tell somebody that this is the candidate?
Well, I'm going to say something that's going to be very unpopular, but Donald Trump says a lot of things. You know, a lot of his stuff is tongue in cheek. You know, a lot of it, he has like thoughts in his head. Like you're just sitting there and you're just talking and you're just saying your thoughts out loud. That's what a lot of the stuff that he says. Now, he needs to stop doing that. He needs to, you know, be more mindful about what he says. But when it comes down to it, the heart of hearts, we all know that will never happen. That the police would just be able to run roughshod and just shoot people or whatnot. We know that. So we got to take that out of the conversation. We got to get to the facts and the bare bones. There's two things. There's perception and reality. We got to stay in reality. We got to get out of perception. The perception says, oh, we're about to go back to 1860 and they're going to take our rights and this and that and the other. And the reality is that, no, that will never happen. That will never happen. There's no way it'll happen. Now, as far as that's concerned, I've seen over the years, and I've been one that I've been arrested many times. I was a traffic thug to the heart, to the core. I've never had any bad interactions with any police officers. You know why? Because my father told me when I was 16, when I got my license, if you be respectful to them, they will be respectful to you. I've been in cars where I've seen people nut up and they start getting crazy as soon as they see the cops, as soon as they hear the lights. What you mean I gotta get out the car? What you mean I gotta roll down my window? For no reason. Super emotional. I really think that this situation, we can really control on ourselves as long as we, you know, exude a little bit more self-control and less emotion. You know what I'm saying? We always get emotional with the whole cops.
I would say that is a fine point you make, because that's what I've experienced with the police as well. But then I've seen where people have complied in everything and there was still police brutality and people still
the law averages. The law averages.
Right.
That does happen. The law averages. Let's be honest. It's the law averages. It does happen.
Maj, I'm gonna come to you, and then Reecie, I'm gonna come to you, because my son is supposed to be here on your side, so I'm trying to. Okay, but I'm trying, because honestly, before we go on, I wanted to have this discussion. It's very important to me, because I wanted people who don't know what's going on right now to get a little bit more information from people that look like them and people that we respect. But also, I want us to understand that it's time for us to stick together and get together. I know it's not popular right now, but that's one thing that Diddy was saying before everything hit the fan, that we need a black caucus, because nobody on here represents either candidate 100%. Right now, it's about the issues that are affecting us. So I do want all of us to remember that we are brothers and sisters on here, and to remain respectful to each other no matter who we voting for, because neither one of us got love for us. All right, so Maj, we're going to go to you, and then we're going to go to Reecie.
So first, Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution clarifies that the states, reserves the rights of the states to defend themselves from invasions. The states, and that's what a part of the lawsuit was about when we're going back to the immigration conversation. The Biden-Harris administration wanted to argue that somehow it's not an invasion, so they should sue the state of Texas for defending the border. And tying that back into Angela's statement as it relates to, you're giving a bunch of money, resources, prepaid cards, houses, hotel rooms, all of these different things. On average, that, and again, if I'm wrong on any of these numbers, please correct me. On average, about $9,000 per illegal, I'll say unlawful immigrant into America. So when we tie that back into the conversation overall about, because the panel is about, what if I had to determine or choose one of these two, even though we don't, it's not enough conversations had about Cornel West, right? Who's the black man that happens to be running as well. But nonetheless, the reason why, if we're picking from these two, both of them have a history politically. Hers is in California, hers is in the Biden administration, and we can look at their history. Trump's is in his first term. So when we look at what they've actually politically done, not what they profess to do, or other people have professed to do for them, we can see what the economy looked like under Trump. We can see that. If you're arguing against that, come on, let's just be intellectually consistent, right? On top of that, when we look at what Harris and those folks have done, when we say things like, talk about Trump saying things, when you say things like, I'm not going to get up here and say I'm going to do something for black people, and then you don't, and then you turn around and specifically do something for the LGBTQ community, for the Asian community, for the Jewish community, insert whatever community, right? Then when you start to, during a campaign trail, when your numbers are looking bad for black men, then you say, we're going to do something for black men. We got a plan for y'all. Then it's kind of a pander. And then 2 days later after that, you say, well, if it benefits black people, it's actually for all people. See, you want to get the benefit of the black vote with no tangibles and specifics. If that's the case, don't run or target black people. Our argument as people that do things in the community, as everyone in this panel is, our argument is, just don't try to cat and gaslight me. You didn't do it. You're saying you're going to do it. You hide behind, I didn't have the skill set, or I was not in the box to do it. It was against us. But when we look back at the legislation and what you actually did, you and your team that you were in the room with making those decisions did the exact opposite of what you're campaigning on. Campaigning on freedom and then saying, we're going to lock you up. Campaigning on, we think nobody should go to jail for weed, and your entire political career was that. It's contradictory. All we're asking is stop lying, and you're doing the whole
There's been articles, and they disproved it, and they showed. I think the number came out. It was 35 people.
No, the Biden administration right now is trying to still keep cannabis Schedule 1. This isn't me saying this. As they're dangling this carrot, it's the same thing that Biden did in 2019. He said he was going to look at decriminalization or rescheduling cannabis. I made content on it.
Let me open it back up. I have two Democrats here, and they holding their fort down. So let me go to Reecie, and then we go to Hakim, and then after everybody weighs in on this, I want to ask a question to everybody, get everybody's answer, and then we can wrap this thing up, because I know we could sit on here for the next 6 hours and go back and forth. But just please remember, we all are fighting for the same cause. Regardless of who we put that vote in for, I hear between all of us, Angela wants more for black women. Reecie wants more for black women. You guys want more for black men. And right now, we're just educating people on who can help us out the most. Reecie.
Yeah, I already covered the disinformation around that clip, which was from 2019. that has been selectively edited to make it seem like VP hasn't said she wouldn't do anything for Black people. I've already covered very specific things that she's done, initiatives that she's led up as the vice president that impact our community. And so I won't revisit that. The idea that nothing has been done from this administration, though, on police accountability is not true, to the extent that they have control, because there has to be legislation from the Congress. I will remind people that VP Kamala Harris, as a senator, was one of the original sponsors of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act that was obstructed by Republicans during the whole George Floyd uprising that happened. But this administration did have a George Floyd executive order, policing executive order, so that in terms of the federal officers, there are new rules in place in terms of the kind of chokeholds that are allowed, in terms of banning no-knock warrants, things of that nature. Donald Trump had, and under his administration, they had one pattern and practice investigation. This administration has already had dozens, okay? And they have been enforcing consent decrees. They have entered new consent decrees. So those are specific actions that happen where we see jurisdictions that disproportionately attack Black people. So you don't have to just act a certain way, because they are going to be less likely to even stop you illegally, to have a pretext of driving while Black or other things that they do to mess with Black people. This administration has really been strong in terms of holding those police agencies accountable. And then I'm almost losing my track of thought. There was one other thing I wanted to address that you said, but all I would say is this: listen, we have very different views, but
I'm gonna edit the shit out of this. So take your time and get to your point. If you
have
to rush or nothing,
no, because it was so long. I was trying to take notes and try to remember everything, but it's just so much coming out that I can't debunk 100% of what everybody is saying. So at the end of the day, we have different, like I said, we have different audiences. So I don't think that a person who believes that abortion is murder is a person that is, I'm not going to reach that person. That's okay. Y'all can vote how y'all want to vote. But at the end of the day, the point that I do want to make about abortion is that in terms of reproductive rights, this is something that when we look at abortion legislation is about criminalizing reproductive rights. It's about criminalizing miscarriages. And we have seen specific instances where Black women have been prosecuted or arrested for miscarriages, not an abortion, but an actual miscarriage. That is something that is allowed. I don't know why that's something to smile at. That's actually disgusting, but that's okay. But all I'm saying is,
no, I don't think he was
I'm
laughing.
not smiling. I just think, can you name the women that were arrested for having a miscarriage? Because I definitely want to research that. And what I also want to say is, I don't think, like, when it comes to pro-choicers, I don't think this is somebody that I'm never going to get to support pro-life, right? So I don't think that they're just that far gone. I just think that when it comes to this issue, because we know that white supremacy exists, right? But for some reason, we find systemic racism in everything but abortion, okay? And that's the problem for me within our community, because the facts are out there. And a miscarriage is not an abortion. A miscarriage is when a baby dies on its own. An abortion is when a baby is intentionally murdered. You can say murdered, terminated, whatever you want to call it, but if it's not alive, you don't need an abortion to kill it. And dead.
Okay, I didn't interrupt you. I didn't interrupt you.
It's murder.
Go ahead.
Hey, bro,
Okay,
don't
thank
do
you.
that. Okay,
So-
I'm gonna mute. Oh, hold up, Reecie, I'm mute. Oh, there we go. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, thank you. So you asked for a specific name. Brittany Watson, Ohio, woman charged with felony after miscarriage at home. She was on the toilet and she miscarried her baby. And so this is something that impacts Black women, and it comes to, because we were already over criminalized. All right. And so if you're a partner of a Black woman that had a miscarriage, then you could also be subjected to charges if somebody wants to suggest that you had something to do with your miscarriage. But also, part of miscarriages sometimes do result in abortion procedure. 25% of pregnancies end in miscarriages. That doesn't always just happen on the toilet. Sometimes you have to have an abortion procedure. That is what just happened with Amber Thurman, where she had an abortion. She wasn't having a miscarriage, so let me not say that. But she took an abortion pill, and then that didn't necessarily work out, and she couldn't get the procedure. So I will retract that before anybody jumps in and says, no. Okay, that's fine. But my point is, I know women, thank God I've had the fortune of not having a miscarriage myself, but I know women who have had miscarriages. and they have had to get an abortion procedure. And it was cheaper for them to go to a Planned Parenthood, for instance, than go through their gynecologist, because Planned Parenthood is not the only people that perform abortions. Gynecologists, OBGYNs perform gynecologists for $900, for double, triple, quadruple the price. And so this was not a person who decided, I don't want to have my baby, devastated at having a miscarriage, but she had to have an abortion procedure because, as the case of Amber Thurman shows, which again is not a miscarriage, but if you have leftover tissue and things like that in your body, you can die from that. And so abortion is much more of an issue. Reproductive rights is, I know that people want to narrow it down to the most inflammatory terms and as though people are just promiscuous women having babies, but this is an issue that far exceeds somebody's sexual activity. It impacts women across the board, whether or not you ever intend on having an abortion, and it impacts the criminality of Black women, and that is something I'm absolutely against.
I want to hop in once, Reecie. I would like to say that you can convince people, not even convince people. I'm here, like I said, just to get educated on all of the issues. Now, one thing that I know about abortion, now I'm a rap artist and I spent 10 years with all the girls in the strip club and I'm dancing and I've hung out with all the most beautiful women and women who whatever. I've seen girls from my personal experience use abortion as an alternative. You understand what I'm saying? Like having an abortion instead of using contraceptives or instead of preventing it. I've seen them use. I know two girls between her and her sister killed a small classroom. Between the two of them had about 14 or 15 abortions, and this was just I got pregnant. So I know that we're not going to be able to get down to the nitty gritty of it because not every abortion is incest, and not every abortion is from somebody who's promiscuous. It's not from miscarriage. So I just feel like the only thing across the board, Democrat or Republican, men should not be making decisions for women's body. And when they put out we saw a photograph on social media, it was a room full of men and none of them were women to make decisions on it. Hakim, I see you wanted to touch on something, and then I wanted to go to ask a question to everybody on the panel. You're on mute. You're on mute, Hakim.
My personal experience is a real life experience. My wife and I are childless. We attempted to have children in the past. My wife has been pregnant. She had a miscarriage. The tissue, like Reecie said earlier, stayed in her body. She tried to let it work itself out naturally, but that didn't happen. We didn't have health insurance. If not for Planned Parenthood, that dead fetus could have killed my wife. That's a real life experience. So my viewpoint on Planned Parenthood forever, the MIAFA, what do you call it, eugenics, Margaret Sanger, was all bought in. But when I had a real life experience that meant something to me, I understood the idea that everybody should have equal access to the same services. Okay, that's one personal experience. Earlier, I talked about leverage in my work in Newark, New Jersey with 24 Hours of Peace. Ras Baraka being the mayor he is, having his ties to the local community, organizing on the local level. We're looking to make him New Jersey's next governor. He is a alumni of Howard University, which is also the university that Kamala was at. We have an anti-gun violence initiative that you've been a part of, Lady Luck. You've seen the investment in anti-gun violence. There's an national anti-gun violence initiative out of the White House, thanks to Vice President Kamala Harris. Leverage. We have leverage in places thanks to the works of Dr. Martin Luther King, who used to be a Republican, and other civil rights leaders at the time. Now, I'm about local government, local politics, be it Democrat, Republican, Independent. Whatever we have to do to make it happen, let's make it happen. However, you gotta look at where you have leverage, because these resources exist. And if you don't exercise leverage, some people don't care about us at all. They're trying to take resources from us. They want to hoard resources. There are other people in other places that we can work and massage and leverage to get the things that we need until we create our own.
Thank you for that. I just, I've watched all the documentaries about Planned Parenthood, so I really, really appreciate what they've done for you and your wife, I know what they've done in our community, and thank God that they were there for you and your family and anybody else who's ever needed them in those emergency situations. But I know after school when I took girls over there, and they ain't have no emergency. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to move over to Barry Bondz. So Barry, as we wrap up the panel, because I know again you guys are so passionate about everything that you are saying, and I want to tell you how much I'm grateful and appreciate you guys spending your time when we edit this up. I definitely just want to educate everybody in my community, anybody in the hip hop community, anybody in my fan base. I just want them to make an educated decision, or at least be more aware of what's going on. So Barry, if you could speak to Barry, you're in Ohio. Before I get there,
Yeah.
no, they weren't really eating the cats.
They was eating the cats. We got to listen to the people. They were definitely eating the cats, and they were eating the ducks. They were doing that. When you have people at the town hall meetings and 911 calls in, how do you just ignore that? I don't understand that. And also, let's be honest, it's a part of, and I've heard many times that it's a part of the culture in certain ways, loosely regarding or loosely tied to voodoo. I don't understand why people are sitting here trying to act like, you'll go to a Chinese restaurant and you'll say, oh, that's the cat and the dog.
Now, let's not get into stereotypes. Let's not get into stereotypes or
it's not stereotypes. It's real. I used to work
it.
for the New York one. I used to work for the Real Deal magazine in New York. I sold a $50,000 sponsorship to go to Shanghai for investment. The people that I sold it to, the firm that I sold it to, they were going to pull out of the whole conference because there was a dog meat conference. If you look it up, in October or September, there is a dog meat conference in Shanghai in China. They didn't like it because it was dog meat. This is things that happen. And I don't understand why people are acting like, oh, it never happens. It never happens.
So Barry,
you don't listen to the people of the city who are saying that it happened. Like, come on.
So Barry, as a black man, because growing up, our parents, Barry, we're also related. Our parents, our grandparents, our aunts and uncles, everybody votes Democrat. So Barry, what I wanted to ask you is, why are you going against the rest of our family, and why are you trying to be the black sheep? What makes you say you're going to vote Republican this term?
Well, I did my research back in 2016. Yeah, about 2016, 17, because I couldn't understand how Trump won. And I'll even credit Miss Stanton, Stanton King, for her appearance on The Breakfast Club, because that even opened my eyes and made me stand even more boldly. And then Larry Elder, Thomas Sowell, Candace Owens. I mean, these are people right here that we should be looking at and listening to their words to basically fish out the truth from, the unrealistic expectations. Let me say that. I mean, they speak facts, they speak facts, and it's all logic. Now, if you want, I say, just look at Trump and look at what he's done in his last term. Break it down piece for piece. You know what I'm saying?
Which part of that?
Just like I did.
Which part are you breaking down piece for piece? Like, are you speaking about economically? Are you speaking about the things
economically? I mean, you look at what he did for the HBCUs. Even though I'm pretty sure they'll say, "Oh, well, he didn't do that," and Obama had them coming back every single year. It's not hard to find. You can find that. Had them coming back every single year trying to get more money.
And it was what, $500 million.
And then from there, I mean, we're in the music industry, I mean, Trump, the Music Modernization Act, that was one thing that was really good, because, we have, we have artists that have been screwed out of their publishing and royalties and everything, and it allowed them to be able to, recreate their music. There's other things that he did as well that I just felt like, what, I can understand. I can see why someone would move that way. And that's what I did. I just said, what have the Democrats done other than pretty much foster a victimization mentality in black folks that's been just staying for the past 30, 40, 50 years. Let's think about other things. Let's think about, Lyndon B. Johnson. If I give them this act here, that these niggers are going to be voting for me for the next 200 years. Come on. I mean, how can we sit here and not even...
I just want to give a shout out to my audience in the back, because everything that you guys have been speaking about, the phone has been ringing off. They sent me every single article, and I see it going off. But we're just so passionate. I haven't got a chance to share screen and things of that nature. But I just want to let you know, I want to shout them out. So when we edit, we'll just bring up everything that y'all talking about. So I appreciate that, Barry. Thank you so much for joining us. And is there any closing words you would like to say to any of the black men or women who would be able to be swayed or at least be educated by where you stand?
I say get off the plantation, the Democratic plantation. Somebody just keeps promising you this and promising you that and never even really making good on those promises for 40, 50 years. It's time to find another alternative. Either you're going to be independent or try out the Republican Party. And I'm not saying the Republican Party is perfect, but if we diversify that Republican Party and have our faces represent Black folks in it, I think it could be stronger and better. I think
that's a good idea for us across the board, bipartisan. I don't think that we should be able to have to pick each side. So Reecie, to the young women who are listening, to the young women who have tuned into your radio show, to the young women who seen you commentating on the news, and the people who really respect your opinion, can you please talk to the young women out there who dress like me or dress like them? Like these young ladies, they don't know who they're going to vote for. Can you please explain to them why you're representing the Democratic Party and why Kamala Harris is a great choice? You on mute? Ooh, girl, you on mute? That was a good one too.
Well, you guys muted me, so okay. Well, let me tell you this. I unequivocally support Vice President Kamala Harris. I have been an expert on her since 2019. She has been the number one source of the number one target of disinformation about her record, about her identity, and I don't know why this guy was laughing every time I talk to her. But okay. Anyway, I'm just going to speak to the people that are open to hearing about. My audience and the premise of my work is that there are people out there that are interested in facts, that are interested in policy, that are interested in credentials and receipts. So that's what I wanted to bring to this program. So Lady Luck, thank you for having me. I will just say that at the end of the day, by every metric, this administration has been better for Black people. That's just absolutely unequivocally true. This administration has been better for this country. And so if you look at 9 out of 12 economic indicators, this administration is better than the pre-pandemic Trump administration. Trump, when he left office, Black unemployment was triple what it is now. 400,000 Black businesses were eradicated. His mismanagement of the pandemic got us in a hole that Biden Harris have pulled us out of. And so the facts are clear. There have been 2.6 million jobs for Black people, the lowest gap between Black and white unemployment that we have seen in recent history. Black wealth is up 60% compared to when Donald Trump was in office. More Black people are enrolled in healthcare. There have been record investments in terms of HBCUs, $16 billion. And part of that comes from Vice President Kamala Harris's initiatives and her focus on HBCUs. We've seen Black maternal health be elevated. We've seen environmental justice. We've seen police accountability, and a whole number of things that I can run down. But the reality is, I understand that not everybody has felt the effects of what has happened, and a lot of people have been, targeted with disinformation about what we have experienced as a country, and it can ring true if you haven't personally experienced the gains. And so I'm saying to people that this election is about what's next, particularly if you have not felt the effects of what I just discussed, all of the metrics. It's about if you want higher wages. It's about if you want a federal government that's going to be about ending disparities and eliminating disparities. Are you going to be about a federal government that's about expanding it and turning a blind eye to it, about appointing justices that are going to do things like eliminate Roe v. Wade, eliminate affirmative action, or if it's going to be about Supreme Court justices that are going to expand our rights in this country. And so there are so many reasons to vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. She does actually have the receipts. If you want to know about it, you can follow me, ReecieColbert.com/receipts. I have information about that. You can listen to my radio program. And as far as this whole talk about getting off the plantation, I would like to recommend a book called The Grift, The Downward Spiral of Black Republicans from the Party of Lincoln to the Cult of Trump. It's by New York Times bestseller Clay Cane, and that will explain exactly why Black people went from Republicans to Democrats. It's not anything about a plantation. There was a policy-driven process that happened. It's not because Black people woke up stupid one day and decided to all of a sudden vote against their own interests. It was a self-interest. It was about advancing our communities. And so I don't know what anybody's going to say after me, but my message is to those who
I got your back, Reecie. I got your back.
Listen, I can tussle, but I know that at the
It's
end
a
of the day,
plantation mind state.
I didn't interrupt anybody else. At the end of the day, I just, like I said, I deliver my message to those who are receptive to it, and I inform people on how to follow me because I do have the receipts. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much, definitely, for all of that information. And we're going to run all of that down on the screen. Maj, you're so animated. You're on mute. You're on mute. We ready for you. There we go.
Y'all can hear me now?
There we go.
Reecie, I appreciate you, Reecie. I really, really do. I appreciate you. I appreciate your passion. I truly believe that it's coming from a correct place. And as my sister, I'm gonna say, I appreciate you. Everything that you're saying is one about homegirl is like not true. Like it's like not true, bro. Like, and I'm saying that from a genuine place. But outside of that, because what I don't want to happen is it appears as if the Black man is attacking the Black woman, and that would not be fair. So I want to be very, very clear about that. But going to why I would say lean more this way, first and foremost, limited government. All Black people should have an understanding of what both of these, if we're choosing from these two parties, one of them advocates for more and more government. Government has not historically been in alignment with Black people's perspective. Conservatism, political conservatism, means limited government, means government should not be reaching into your wallet, means government should not be making every decision about your body. So when Roe v. Wade has had a conversation about, when the Supreme Court says the federal government has too much power over this, so we want to make it back to the states, so the state legislature, which has representatives of the people, those people can determine what they want to do in each state. So it's a limited government concept. So when you're on the side that advocates for more of a welfare state, more of a nanny state, more of a police state, which is, even though if they say defund the police, Lori Lightfoot got a whole bunch of COVID money and gave 60% of it to the police in Chicago after she talked about defund the police. So there's a little bit difference between saying one thing during campaign times, or when it's the thing to say at the time, and what we actually do. So I will be very clear, again, I'm a libertarian that has some conservative values, or has an understanding of the rich tradition of Black folks in the Republican Party, like Frederick Douglass, which no one is going to say was not super pro-Black, which is probably the best conservative of all time. Nonetheless, when that question becomes, what is the outcome, not your intent, what is the outcome? Has government been good for Black communities? When we had less government involvement in our communities, which is political conservatism, were we thriving and flourishing? And the answer to that is unequivocally yes. When we've added more welfare, when we've added more government, our communities have been more and more reliant on government that is trying and attempting to control us, and it has not been good. So I just find it a contradiction to say government has been horrible for Black people and get in alignment with the party that's asking for more government. And the only area that they seem to, based on this conversation today, some of the only areas that they seem to say, we want you to have full autonomy, is when it ties into the murdering of Black children. So that's where I will ask everyone to land and think about, even though I am not a Republican, I am a libertarian, because I think that the Republicans getting kind of soft as it relates to limiting government. So that's what I just challenge everybody to think about a little bit. Reecie, if you single, I gotta take you on a date, bro. You're not. We got to talk about it.
I knew that's why he was smiling. Hold
up,
you
married?
Hold
okay.
Up, I know this is a hip hop.
Bring your husband too. We can have conversations.
Go into the DMs, okay? Get down. Okay, now we're gonna keep professional. I want to go to Angela, and then I want to close out with Hakim. And again, I cannot express my gratitude for such high esteemed people to come on here. You guys have no idea how much respect I have for you, how much admiration I have for you, and you took your time out for little rapper Lady Luck, and me and my constituents appreciate it. So Angela, and you in Atlanta, so I'm taking your ass out to to eat. Okay, Angela, if you can speak to any of the black females, like the ones that's sitting behind me, the ones that dress like me, all across the board, and you're trying to just explain to them why you feel like Donald Trump is the best candidate, can you speak to them?
Most certainly. One of the main reasons that I would vote for Donald Trump is because he's not running a campaign on abortion, and because there is value in Black life, right? When we hear these women tell us that they're fighting for reproductive rights, you already have the right to reproduce, right? I got pregnant 5 times. I never needed permission to reproduce. What they're asking for is the right to actually kill their reproduction and get away with it. When they tell you that they're fighting for women's rights, I don't understand the women's rights that execute the women of tomorrow, because you have to be born in order to become a woman. So when we are saying that we are in this fight for Black life, and we're saying that Black lives matter, and we are demanding that every other person, party, color value Black life, they will never value Black life if we don't begin to value Black life and have the understanding that Black life begins in the womb. So it is a conversation that we do need to begin having. And what I'm saying is, if they ain't offering abortion at the border, and if we got abortion clinics, and in those white wealthy communities they get fertility clinics, then that's something that we need to begin to look into, because every Black person up under the sound of my voice right now, mama got pregnant with it. You have your life and you are here because your mother got pregnant. The womb of a Black woman is the most dangerous place for a baby. You guys can just look at how our families have been cut in half since Roe v. Wade was passed. I got pictures of my family. My grandmother had 10 kids. We don't have those big families no more. Since Roe v. Wade was passed, there's an estimated 20 million Black lives, okay, that have been terminated since the passing of Roe v. And if we're crying about being an oppressed minority, then we have to understand that we are always going to be an oppressed minority if we are constantly aborting our votes. The last thing I want to say is Reecie is a beautiful woman, and she talked about receipts. So I brought a couple of them myself today, right? This right here is actually a proclamation where Auntie Angie has been recognized in Fulton County for, at the date of receiving this proclamation, saving 68 lives. 66 of those were Black. I'm over the number of 80 right now. Not only are we saving Black life, but you guys have to understand that those babies are going to grow up and have babies. So we're not just saving Black life, we are saving entire generations. So when we're talking about educating Black women, uplifting Black women, we need to put a stamp on having them value the lives of their children. Here's another receipt, right? This is called a presidential pardon, right? And it's signed by Donald Trump. Because see, this Black girl right here was born in a world of poverty and dysfunction, in and out of prison all my life, in and out of federal prison all my life. I've been the Black sheep. And if this man is a racist for clearing my record, for endorsing my campaign, because I have 20 years worth of receipts for the work that I've done in my community, then that's the type of racism that we need. Reecie also recommended a book. I'm a 3 times national best-selling author. This is my new book, King Trump Kennedy, okay? It's a memoir. Rescued by King, pardoned by Trump, and positioned by Kennedy. This is my personal story about my work with these 3 families and how the most strangest of alliances can come together to do what's best for our community. I work hand in hand with the King family on community restoration. I work hand in hand with President Donald Trump on passing the First Step Act. Not only did he pass the First Step Act that released 3,100 prisoners from prison in one day on July 19th, he also made it illegal for them to chain women to the bed while giving birth if they're in prison. Because of my story, I was chained to the bed when I gave birth to my daughter that they told me to abort because I was in prison. And she went on to win the Harvard International Debate Championship. You probably saw her on Steve Harvey. She's now in her 3rd year at MIT. So what Auntie Angie is here to tell you, regardless of all of these Black faces that claim to represent us in Congress, if they are telling you that there is freedom or liberation in aborting your own children, we need to find new friends. We need to find a new party. I don't care if y'all want to separate from the Republicans and the Democrats, but when the only thing they are offering us as Black women is a free ticket to kill our children, something is wrong. I love y'all, Lady Luck. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Angela, thank you so much. Powerful. And I just want to say how I came to all of the black kids that came to 24 Hours of Peace, to all of the fans that you have, to all of the people who respect you and respect your opinion. And you have done so much in the community for all of us. As we close out tonight, what would you tell them about when they go in November 4th for their vote? Your mic.
Leverage that black and brown communities across this nation need resources, and we should access where we have leverage in these local communities, city, county, state. Learn to draw the through line to centers of power. Who's helping us, who's investing in us. So look, you know me for a long time, and a great deal of that time, I was what they call the conspiracy theory dandada. Like I was Behold the Pale Horse, Trilateral Commission, all your favorite joints, Ruled by Secrecy by Jim Marr. I mean, I was in deep. I got songs about conspiracy theories, very vocal against the Clintons, went in, right? And then Occupy Wall Street happened, and I started to organize with a lot of the libertarians, a lot of the more conservative thinkers, the right-wing radicals that would end up being the 1%ers and that was behind Alex Jones and all that. Didn't vote for President Obama twice because they were going to use the black man to usher in the Illuminati. So when he was looking to pass Obamacare, the American Care Act, 40-something years old at the time, my fiance, now my wife, and my mother was like, boy, you ain't got no health insurance? You better go sign up. I'm like, nah, they're going to use the black man to usher in the Illuminati. They're going to force us all to get chips by forcing us to get health care. It was like, you sound crazy. You better sign up for health care. So I did. 3 months after I signed up, I broke my arm, found out I have a blood condition that was causing the bones in my hand to shift. Had to have 3 reconstructive surgeries of the hand and wrist in 2015. If not for Obamacare, I wouldn't be able to use my left hand right now. Right. We bought our first house last year. The year before, President Biden was able to pardon the tranche of student loans that my wife was able to take advantage of and freed us up so that we could buy our home. Right. There's a number of things that President Harris is pushing. $50,000 investment in the small businesses. $6K tax credit for your first child, $25,000 for new homeowners. Where do we have leverage? Who are the representatives on the local level that can hold her responsible for her promises? That's how we see change. That's how we get investment. Work towards leverage. That's all I gotta say.
And ladies and gentlemen, I cannot reiterate how grateful I am to this esteemed panel that we have here.
As a single mother during that time that was working with Obamacare, I actually lost health insurance and couldn't even afford it for me and my kids. And we just gonna be honest, because I was on that cusp and I made too much money to get Medicaid and I didn't make enough money to afford insurance for me and all of my children. And another thing, go research the Obamacare kid and how a lot of tax dollars went to sensory transitioning children, because the Obamacare kid that they used to push Obamacare is now a grown woman. I'm just saying, you want to put that out.
Unfortunately, the Republicans don't want to support universal health care. Maybe we can get the Republicans to come on board and we can get universal health care so we can make Obamacare better and more affordable for everybody.
I agree.
I will agree. Now I will say, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all. We could close out I haven't put my opinion in any of this, but I do know that when I was a rapper selling CDs $5 and I ain't have health insurance, you're right. And Obamacare did help me. But my brother-in-law, who did have a job with my sister and their 3 kids, they tore up their whole budget. So I was broke, and it helped me out a lot because I guess everybody else who was making more money, they was paying for the people like myself. So I just would like to say, before closing it out, all of us feel passionate about the issues that are affecting our community. And regardless of who we go in there and vote for on November 5th, we are all voting for each other. And I wish sometime in the future that we can get a caucus together, we can stand together and band together to hold any candidate accountable for the things that we have, the issues that we have in our community. So again, I would like to run through my guests. I am extremely thankful for Miss Angela Stanton King. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for Barry Bondz joining us. Thank you for Maj Toure joining us. And you definitely turned the panel up. Thank you for Reecie Colbert. Do not tell him your dating status. And most importantly, and not last but not least, I want to thank Hakim Green. I've been a fan forever. Thank you for this entire panel. Shout out again to my executive producer, M. Easy. We're going to edit this up. It's going to look beautiful. Now, y'all hang up so I can go do my intro again.